But let's talk about what we generally come here to talk about. We had the Kobe Ray Allen debate.
We did.
But it really
World famous.
wasn't. It really wasn't a debate. What it was a witch hunt, and all of y'all participated in it. So my blood is on all of y'all's hands.
Which was you?
Huh? What happened?
which were you?
No, it was on all of y'all hands because y'all came out like a bunch of wild dogs. You know, blood dripping off your mouth, just looking savage. And this is what you guys did. And so first and foremost, I thought y'all loved me. Y'all told me you loved me. So I feel bad in that way. And
it's all love, Brian.
it was
They're trying to protect you from yourself.
it was not. It was not love at all.
It's an intervention. They're saying you have a problem.
Yeah, he have a problem. I really didn't appreciate what y'all was doing. But check this out here. I'm gonna finish what I was saying because I was rudely interrupted as I was stating my case. So I'm gonna tell y'all what I was saying. Now y'all are free to feel whatever way you want to feel, but I'm gonna finish telling y'all what I was saying. Okay. So here's my point. Now, you know what? Let me roll it back. Let me first say this. I do not hate Kobe Bryant. Let me just say that.
With lies?
Let me just say that.
I thought you was going to tell the truth about how you feel.
I'm telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God, I am. Okay. I don't hate Kobe Bryant, but you know, I made this analogy talking to books another time, and y'all, okay, because I'm about to create more hate. So prepare yourself.
I know where this is going.
Put your
I'm about to get an umbrella.
Okay, and I'm gonna tell you this. I know I can point out it. I can point out the number one and number two haters that's about to come after me after I say this. It's going to be Jason Battle and 1989. Out of our chat, out of our regulars in the chat, those two are gonna come after me the most when I say what I'm about to say. I don't hate Kobe Bryant. But Kobe Bryant is to me a lot like my feelings for him are similar to my feelings for Tupac. Get ready. For me, it's not Kobe's fault that Kobe starts to get on my nerves a little bit. It's Kobe fans that get on my nerves, right? That's what gets on my, because to me, they have overblown him like to his place that's like, oh my God, like they act like he shot 65% from the field, 70% from the 3-point line, and just won every championship he ever competed for. And I kind of feel the same way with Pac. Like sometimes people who are Pac fans, they go so hard on their Pac fandom that it's just nothing that you can say to them ever at all critical. And I don't hate Tupac. I probably know more Pac songs than everybody who runs around talking about they a Pac fan. But sometimes people just go so far with it.
Okay, so for the audience playing at home, let's establish some parameters here, some identifiable markers with from which we can relate the rest of the discussion. Where do you have Tupac on your all-time rappers list?
So here come the hate. See, that was a setup. That was a setup.
Can you answer a question?
You know what you just did? You just put like you took a Yankees fan and sat him in the middle of Fenway and told him to give his top 5 Red Sox. That's what you just did, right?
Why don't you keep New York sports out your mouth? Answer the question.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Cubs fan talk about the Yankees. Quiet, peasant.
You ain't even no Yankees fan. You a Mets fan more than a Yankees fan.
That's true.
So, all right. So, Pac's not in my top 5. He's not.
Okay.
He's not in my top 5. Doesn't mean probably, maybe. Because see, I judge hip hop indifferently than most people. Okay. I rap, like that was my thing. That, like, all day, every day, I wrote. I mean, I just notebooks wrote. That's what I did. And so lyrics are everything to me. Like I like linguistics, and I like people with clever stuff. And Pac always had a great delivery and a great voice. But as a writer, I thought there's 50 people I can name that to me were better writers. Everybody don't have to be the freaking hip hop Shakespeare. That's not necessary, because we all have a different thing that we bring to the table, right? But for my personal taste, what Pac brought to the table wasn't the thing that lit my lamp.
This will help us with the Kobe discussion, because there's a difference between your personal taste and where you think he really is in the pantheon, right? So for instance, for myself, I do not like any Kanye verses ever.
Really?
I've never heard a Kanye West verse that I like. As a producer, I love him, but as an actual rapper, I can't stand a single one of his verses. But for the overall consideration of where he is, I would still rank him high because of the things that he does that other people appreciate more than me, right? Like, I'd rather listen to the worst Lupe Fiasco song ever, and he's got some bad ones, than the best Kanye verse, right? In terms of Kanye on the track. Now, if Kanye produced one of Lupe's albums, then I'd be deliriously happy. But that wouldn't change where I would put Kanye all time, my personal dislike aside. So for you, personal dislike aside, where do you rank Tupac overall? Because he was one of the most prolific and powerful rappers out of everybody.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a more commercially influential rapper ever. Like, just all things considered, I don't think there's ever been anybody to make the impact. So if we flip it into a basketball thing, Pac is kind of like what I project Zion Williamson to be. I mean, obviously, I don't want Zion Williamson to leave.
But in your top 10 rankings, is Pac in your top 10?
No, he's not in my top 10.
Wow. So, I mean, not in your personal top 10. Do you think he is a top 10 rap artist of all time?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So in that top 10, do you have him in the bottom 5?
No. If I'm removing my evaluation categories on what I say is like quality, like a quality MC, then if I remove that and I look at things like notoriety, accomplishments, and that sort of thing, then he's top 2, 3, because then it's not solely about skill, it's about impact. And if you're talking about impact, I mean, you could make an argument that there's never been anybody more impacting.
Well, I'll make another comparison. I don't like the Beatles very much, right? Okay. Now, for people at home, I'm a guitar player, and I've been playing guitar for a while. I love guitar music, and the Beatles are guitar music. I like other bands around the Beatles. So I'm okay with the Rolling Stones, like Zeppelin more, love Pink Floyd, right? So it's not like I don't like that kind of music. But for me personally, if I never hear another Beatles song again, I'm fine with it. But in terms of greatest bands, I don't think they're trash. I just don't like them. Do you think Tupac is bad and other people like him because of other things? Or do you think Tupac, he's nice, but he's just not nice at the stuff that you consider important?
You know, he is where he was, rest in peace.
Allegedly.
He might be in Cuba. But
Illuminati confirmed.
Right. He was nice at some things that I do value.
Okay.
Like delivery wise, I mean, Pac had a way of everything he said sound like it was really important. I mean, he could be talking about Hinkley Springs water, and it sounded like Hinkley Springs water was the thing that you needed to know about, right? And like his voice, his voice, period. Like, I would put his voice in the top 3 or 4 with Chuck D, Guru, right there in that same range, right? But all things considered, like I'm a line for line guy. I'm a line for line guy.
Well, and here's where I want to delineate, because there's a difference between saying my personal top 10, which is heavily biased and subjective, and if you put me on like a committee of voting for the top 10, would I put that person in? So the Beatles wouldn't make my personal top 500 bands, but if I was making a top 10, rock acts list, they'd be in my top 5. They wouldn't be number 1. I genuinely think Queen is better than them in every way, but I would still have the Beatles ranked. So my thing with, if you were being objective, where do you put Tupac, all things considered?
All things considered. All things considered, I would say top 4.
Okay.
Top 3, 4. Like,
so
like all things considered, removing my own stuff.
Now here's an important part of our discussion here.
Right. And I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
Because when you say someone's overrated or grossly overrated, if you put them in the top 4, but everybody else has them in the top 3, that's not grossly overrated. You just tired of hearing about them. Right? True. So like Kobe, you have Kobe as a top 10 NBA player, right?
Yes.
All time.
Yes.
Most people don't have Kobe ahead of LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, and Magic.
I would disagree. I think that it depends on the age range of who you're talking to.
Well, I'm saying when every discussion I've had and all of the lists that I've read, Kobe starts coming in anywhere between 5 and 8. I haven't seen him on too many lists where he slips below 8, and I haven't seen him on any list where he's above 5. Now, there's a different discussion that people have about who would you rather have. But then there's the greatest all-time stuff. And then when there's greatest all-time, there's that list when you think of who had the most game, who you could transfer from that time. And then there's accomplishments.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. See, I think that's where LeBron is going to get a lot of people, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to accomplish more than him.
Unless you are talking about the championship discussion.
Right. And you know what? For whatever reason, I still think he's going to win another one. I don't know how it's going to happen.
It's not looking good.
Right. I don't.
Magic 8-Ball says outlook not great.
I think he's going to win one more. I don't ask me why. I don't have any direct path or whatever. But he's the type of guy that just attracts a certain level of success, and I think he's too motivated for it, not for it to happen to him at least one more time. That's just my
Here's the thing. If he wins another one, the thing that will differentiate him from his nearest competition, which are Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those I separate Bill Russell because, again, if your last game was in black and white, different discussion. I'm just saying it's a different discussion.
I try to tell you, you know what? I'm getting calls from seniors about you.
They don't know how to use phones.
They are calling me up on their rotary dials. And they're like, why is your friend so mean to us? That's what they say, all the old people.
To be clear, I'm not saying that his accomplishments don't matter. I'm saying that the circumstances under which they happen, literally an 8-team league, are so different that it's not apples to apples.
It's not. It's not.
I do feel that from about post-merger, we're having an apples-to-apples argument for the most part. There are some big exceptions, like pace of play, up for some people, way down for other people. So points per game, you can kind of throw out the window, because if this guy averaged 30 points on a team that averaged 90 points, this guy averaged 35 on a team that averaged 120 points, the numbers aren't equal, because they scored a higher percentage of their team's points with a lower PPG. So it's apples to apples if you're being intelligent about it, not oversimplifying. But I think before 1975, it's just not apples to apples.
No, I totally agree. But so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring it. So we can, because we can go on for this forever, because we done branched out we didn't talk about Tupac.
But this was healthy discussion.
No,
Brian.
it was. But so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring it back and I'm gonna explain why I said that, wrap up that part, why I said the Pac thing, and relate it back to Kobe. And then I'm also gonna say what I was saying about Ray Allen, because we ain't said his name yet, and he's the one that y'all love so much. So check it out. I know how great Kobe was. I know. Trust me. I watched it. I watched it from rookie year, and I said that little dude is a beast. And I said that little dude is so freaking confident that it doesn't. I mean, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he missed the first 40. He's shooting it again. And don't ask him why he shot it, because he gonna tell you, because I'm Kobe. And that is a quality in itself, right? And I respect that. But when I'm still stepping back and I'm looking at him, I see some situations where there are some players who I would prefer to have, who may actually have been less talented, but because of everything that they brought, I think that they would have been a better fit, or they could have done just as much, if not more, from a team standpoint. And Ray Allen, prime Ray Allen, which I consider prime Ray Allen. When I say prime, I consider, we were defining prime in two different ways. My idea of prime is, when did you have your best season? Not necessarily when are you in your prime of your life, your career, physically, so to speak. When did everything align and you had your best season, right? So for me, prime is a retrospective concept. So I'm looking back at your career and go, turned out this guy's prime was from here to here. Some guys have shorter ones, some guys have longer primes, whatever. So for me, Ray was his best from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and from an accomplishment standpoint in the 99 to 02 year. And for me, in that space, I think that if you took that Ray Allen and you put him on those Lakers teams, especially the first championships, if you put him on those teams, I feel that he would have done just as good as Kobe in that space. And
okay,
because of who he is as a player and as a person, just as a teammate, I like him better as a teammate on my team to keep my championship together. That was it.
Okay, and I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I think you win less championships. I don't think you win as much as he won, because I don't think I think it's actually proven. Here's the thing. Ray Allen was in the Western Conference for a while, playing against those teams. He did not get into the playoffs and do any damage to the San Antonios, the Portlands, the Utahs, the Sacramentos. He didn't, and then later on, he got shipped to the East Coast a little later, but even then on the up and coming front, Thunder and stuff like that, like, they were not scared of Ray Allen the way they were scared of Kobe. And I would actually reverse it. I think if you put a 22-year-old Kobe Bryant on the Milwaukee Bucks versus Allen Iverson don't make it to the finals.
I don't know that I disagree with that, but I don't think that my hesitancy to disagree with that point necessarily eliminates my original point, because I think that's circumstantial, and I think that is also about personality. I think that Bucks team needed somebody who was a little more selfish.
So here's the thing. I think a lot of what happens with Kobe, particularly in his first 3 championships, is because Shaquille O'Neal was so dominant, people give Shaquille O'Neal a pass on his many, many flaws. Shaquille O'Neal, throughout his entire career, has proven that his ego does not allow him to play with a star perimeter player for an extended amount of time. He's uncomfortable with those guys getting credit. And the thing is, he has said that. His coaches have said that. And those players who have all forgiven him, who have all become friends with him, even after forgiving him, have all said the same thing. Yeah, Shaq didn't like it when you were getting all that attention. There was no beef with Penny Hardaway. Shaq just didn't like that he had a commercial. Seriously, that's documented.
That one, I don't think was as much about that as it was. I think it was that, but I also think, you remember, that was at the height, if you want to call it that, of his rap career. and the height of what he was trying to do from a film standpoint. And I
No,
think
he's literally said the words, "Oh, y'all think it's Penny's team? I'm gonna get up on out of here."
I don't. It's not that I don't think that was a factor, but I do think that the ability to advance himself from an entertainment standpoint also called him a bit too for the LA thing. Now the leaving LA to go to Miami, the Lakers chose Kobe.
Well, this was another Shaq flaw, because part of the reason that they had fallen out, period, and this again is documented. They've both attested to this, and Phil Jackson has spoken on this. Other
Oh
teammates
yeah.
have spoken on this. Shaq, once he realized he had a stud on his team, was just gonna eat and not work out in the offseason. And he said, "I'll work myself into shape during the season.
Yeah.
You got it."
I know. I 100% know. Yes.
And one story, Kobe's told the story a couple of times when he was on his 40-point streak. So Shaq's hurt, and Phil Jackson says, "Kobe, we need you to take over the offense." He scores 40 points a game, he's about to break, I think, Wilt Chamberlain's streak, right? And Shaq comes back, and Kobe's still hot, right? And the Lakers is winning. And Phil Jackson calls Kobe into the office and said, "I think we're losing the big fella. We're gonna need it. We'll be fine during the regular season with you running the offense, but basically his ego can't handle this right now. So I want you to dial it back and let some of the shine and attention go back to Shaq." Kobe said, "Fine." And the next game he scored 38 points and stopped scoring. Like literally, he's like, "I could have easily."
And that is so Kobe.
Yeah.
That right there is so Kobe. Because you know what? One of the things that really got me with Kobe and kind of dropped me a little bit, and we definitely got to move on because we're about 6 minutes over on this topic. But actually more than that, about 12 minutes. So
well, we had to cover Tupac.
We did. We got Tupac. But one of the things that got me with Kobe and kind of like hit a ceiling with me with him was it was the year it was Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq, real fat Shaq, right? And the last year when they lost to the Pistons, so was that 03, 04? They lost to the Pistons in the finals. Kobe was pissed. He was pissed at Shaq's lack of effort and Shaq's lack of conditioning. And he was pissed at a whole bunch of different stuff. You could tell that whole thing had come to a point and it was those two could not go any further together. You could tell. In the finals, Kobe's like, I'm not shooting. I'm not for this whole stretch because I'm gonna show y'all what happens when I don't shoot. I'm gonna show you. And I thought that was super immature. And
why aren't you as upset with Shaq for eating all the barbecue ribs?
That's if I didn't hold Shaq accountable, Shaq would be my number 2 greatest center of all time. But I hold Shaq accountable because I know he didn't do people like, oh, Shaq was the most dominant player of his time. He was. But people sometimes, Shaq doesn't get the love that Kobe gets. He doesn't get the respect that Kobe gets. And to be quite honest, he doesn't deserve it.
No, he was not as good of a player as Kobe Bryant. After all said and done.
You know what? He could have been 20 times greater, but the reason he doesn't deserve it is because he didn't go and make himself that.
Well, I think people are too quick to assume that the mental part is easier to have.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not.
That's the thing. Like, if you listen to Kobe speak, if you look at the way he approached the game, if you look at the career he had and how he accomplished what he accomplished, people just aren't made like that. Like, most people just aren't like that.
He's a strange dude.
You're almost just as lucky to be born with that level of focus, having access to it, as you are to be 7'2", 280 pounds.
Yeah,
it's just as unlikely.
He's almost a perfect storm, almost, because he's an elite level athlete on a whole nother level than at 99.5% of the people on the
everybody planet. Except for the true exceptions like Zion and Jordan and LeBron and stuff.
And
like
Giannis
Kobe's in
that.
Kobe's in that tier of he's as good as a normal person can be.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's even better than that. I think he's Like, he's elite crazy. Like, you'll never see nobody that can do all this stuff that he can do. But then there's just a few 4 or 5 guys who, like, they're crazier, right? But then you match all of that with this insane competitiveness and insane level of confidence, right?
And intelligence.
And intelligence.
He understands the game.
Clearly not a dumb guy. Clearly understands the game and just overall, just a sharp dude, right? But the down part is he knows all of that about himself. And it created a monster most of his career. Now, I do 100% believe that as he got older, he got more mature and more humble and softened, and he wasn't that dude that he was before. But I think he spent more of his career as the angry kid with a chip on his shoulder with something to prove. And I think that that is what cost him the type of performances. And I know we all know about the amazing performances, but the season-long, postseason-long type of stuff that you could look at and be like, I mean, like you look at him and Mike, right? And you say, all right, athletically, maybe somewhere close or whatever. Mike's
superior.
Mike's a better athlete, but not so much to the point where it's like, literally, dude, you can't stay in front of him. Not that big of a disparity, right? But you then look at stuff like efficiency and numbers and those types of things, and it's not even close. It's really not even close. It's like he made a higher percentage of, no, I don't even think he made a higher percentage of threes over his career. I don't even think he did. Just overall efficiency, Mike just blows him out. It's
because you're Michael Jordan.
Right. And so, but here's my thing. When we talk about him, like he is on that level, that's the part that makes
well, here's the thing. You say we.
No, and
I'm
not talking about like you necessarily.
But
like if you,
I don't think that's a valid argument. I don't think it's let me say this. I think it's a valid losing argument that you can bring your Kobe Bryant evidence and say, here's why I think he was as good as Michael Jordan. And I'll look at the evidence, acknowledge your case, disagree with you, and leave it at that. I don't think it's completely ridiculous. There's only one championship disparity between the two of them. And then you look at the longevity of his career and the circumstances under which Kobe played. He didn't have the same coach the entire time. Injuries, catching the tail end, not the tail end, but getting towards the tail end of Shaq's prime and having to rebuild with a brand new team. All that stuff. He didn't have like a young running mate like Scottie Pippen. You could almost go as far as to say, if Shaq was 20 this instead of 20 that when he went to the Lakers, they would have got those that extra championship would have got there, right? And then it'd be 6 versus 6. So, but I disagree. I think Jordan's a better player by all measures.
Yeah.
That having been said, here's the thing there's two things with the Ray Allen thing in particular. If you actually go back and look at those Lakers games in the playoffs, that offense compared to today was almost an anti-Kobe offense. Like, so much of that offense was Shaq, walk down to the block, Kobe, throw it to him, walk to the other side, wait, Rick Fox, for no reason I can explain, run next to Shaq while he's doing his post move. Like, it was such a different era of clogging the paint, throwing it into the big man and waiting. It's almost kind of amazing that he got the numbers that he got, which I think is why he brings up, imagine if Michael Jordan had to play with a big guy like Shaq, because Michael Jordan got to be the focal point of the offense for a very long time in that era. Now, again, I'm not making the case that makes Kobe better than Mike. I'm just saying that when you actually look at the games on the floor, Kobe wasn't in the situation that Mike or a James Harden or a LeBron was in. He did what it took to win during those times. But it was a pretty, like, today that offense wouldn't fly at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could fly to a degree if you had a guy like Shaq. And you had a guy like Kobe on the outside. I still think that type of offense can but the difference is they need 2 shooters. I mean, they need 3 shooters. They need 3 shooters on the floor.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm saying, they had the shooters. Robert Horry was a shooter.
Yeah, but not. I mean, Robert Horry, yes, but Rick Fox and Derek Fisher was. Derek Fisher was. So think about it. Today, if you have Rick Fox, Horace Grant,
Kobe Bryant and Derek Fisher surrounding Shaquille O'Neal, draw me a map of how that will look on the court today versus how it looked back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Back then, it was Kobe in the corner, Fisher at the top, and all of the rest of the Lakers surrounding Shaq like satellites because it was just a different era. And this goes into the point. When Michael Jordan first took over, people were saying, we don't think a guard can win a championship.
Right.
Right? Because it was so big man centric. And the echoes of that were still happening when Shaq first got together with Kobe. By the time it was Kobe's second half of his career, things had opened up, and even the triangle was a more spaced out version of it. But it's pretty ugly in those early 2000s, man. Like, it's a miracle. Like, you look at Sacramento, they look like a modern team. They have 4 guys on the perimeter and Chris Webber at the free throw line. Yeah, running 4 out, 1 in pick and roll. And the Lakers got 4 giants in the paint, just missing layups until it happens right for them. And being in that situation, without considering that, and then looking at Kobe's efficiency and stuff like that, like some of the shots that Kobe took that were bad, there was several shots, like really a lot of them, where it's like, that offense was trash to begin with. Of course you took a fadeaway 2-pointer because that's what y'all was doing. You would actually look at what was on the court and be like, there's so many 3-pointers that would happen right now with those same players, not even new players, not even guys developing better shots, literally the same names. It would just be a better offense today. Yeah, because the 3-pointers are more of a thing.
I also think, and like I said, I promise y'all, we got to move on. But I also think that there's something to be said for carrying the load and not like, I think, yes, did Kobe sacrifice by having to feed the big man? Yes. But he also benefited from the spacing that provided on when he did have the ball and was getting an opportunity to operate on the perimeter. Mike never played with a dominant low post threat. So he didn't have that space. The entire defenses were geared to stop him. And nobody could gear a defense to stop just Kobe when he played with Shaq. You had to stop Shaq first. So I definitely think that matters too.